Hey, what's up everybody? This is Like It's 1985, and today we're going to take a look at Transformers Generations Voyager class triple changing Blitzwing. Finally, Hasbro has released a true triple changing Blitzwing in the Generation 1 style. True, we had the Transformers animated Voyager Blitzwing, but not being inspired by the G1 cartoon, the G1 character, and the G1 figure. So finally we have a very good example of a triple changing Blitzwing in the Generation 1 style. So thumbs up to Hasbro for that. Awesome. Overall, this toy is very nice. There are a few issues, but I do recommend picking up the toy when you see it in your local stores. So with that said, let's first take a look at the instruction sheet here. I'm only going to show you this part right here because I think that's a really neat picture of Blitzwing. So you can see there, pretty cool. Alright, and of course the box has a nice picture of Blitzwing here on the front and wrapping around on the side. Again, I like the Generations box here, really cool. You have that on the side there. On the back, of course, you have look at robot and jet and tank mode, a bio there, as well as the stats. So with that said, let's take a look at the figure itself. And it's definitely fantastic. I like the color scheme with the purple and the tan, I guess you'd call that color. He does actually have 3 faces, and I won't actually demonstrate it on my toy because on my toy it really is difficult to rotate the faces around, almost to the point where I thought I was going to break it. So since this is my only copy, I'll show you a picture of that so you can get an idea of what the faces look like. But this is the face I prefer, the Generation 1 style Blitzwing face. So that's the face I'll be sticking with for this review. So really nice detail on the chest here. You can see some details here, some paint as well as sculpting detail. Nice detail here on the shoulders, going down to the legs. Really fantastic looking figure. Take a look at the back here. And again, you can see lots of sculpting here in the plastic, which is really nice. Really fantastic. I like it a lot. More sculpting detail here. Some panel lines here. As you can see, Blitzwing does come with 2 weapons. It does have this sword, which is a 2-tone purple color and is fairly nicely detailed. He also comes with this gun, or blaster. I would have liked this to be bigger, but oh well. If I had to choose one weapon to be big, it would be the sword, so I'm a big fan of swords, so I don't mind too much, but the blaster looks a little bit small. I'm sure maybe there's a third-party group going to come out with a add-on set for this figure. And there is a missile here, which operates in all 3 modes, but you basically pull back on the barrel here, I guess you call it, and fires off the missile. Nothing fancy there. So articulation, you've got the head on a what appears to be just a simple swivel, but it does rotate all the way around. Here's an issue I have with this figure. You see there's shoulder articulation here, but there's these pieces of plastic here that it just kind of flap around. There's no real connecting point, nothing really to hold it in securely. So as you rotate this shoulder joint here, this tends to go up like that. That's the one flaw I see with this figure in robot mode. It's annoying, but I can live with it. The fins here articulate, and then you have shoulder articulation, arm articulation out to the side. You have a bend and a swivel there at the elbow. You have a 360 swivel at the wrist. There really is no waist articulation, but I don't think you really need it here. You do have the legs, can go forward, back, and out to the side like that, to that degree. Swivel there. You have a ball joint here at the ankle, and then you have a ball joint here on the little fin here that goes in along the side of the leg and ankle. So that's your articulation for Generations Voyager class Blitzwing. Pretty nice figure, and I really do like the color scheme, the really deep purple as well as the tan color. Hits the color scheme spot on in terms of a homage to the Generation 1 color scheme found on G1 Blitzwing. So fantastic. And here is the one, the only, the original Generation 1 Blitzwing next to the new modern Generations version. And here on the right is Generations Grimlock next to Blitzwing, Transformers Prime Voyager class Megatron, and Blitzwing. And here, of course, we can see Voyager class animated Blitzwing next to Generations Blitzwing. Transformation from robot to tank mode. Alright, so let's go ahead and talk about tank mode. Tank mode overall here does look very good. The most important fact is it does look like a tank. In fact, there's not a whole lot that does not look like a tank, so overall the tank aesthetic, the design is very good. I do like the balanced mixture of the tan and the purple plastic. Really nice there. I do like that. Overall, the tank mode in terms of length is a little shorter than I would like, but I'm not complaining too much. So, as you can see, you can store the weapons. There's actually a peggle here, as well as on the other side and on the cannon. And this is the way that Hasbro shows you in the instructions to place the gun and the sword, but you can mix and match as you wish. Now, the turret does rotate fully in this mode all the way around, as you can see. What I've found is you can actually make the tank look longer if you have the turret in this orientation, because it actually adds a bit of length here with the turret here hanging off what's now the back of the tank mode. So it does make it look a little bit longer, I think, and it still looks like a tank. So you can certainly have that option if you wish, but the official mode is like this. Lots of nice detail, as you can see in the side, some detailed in the plastic. The treads here look good. Here's a look at the undercarriage. There's 4 wheels here, you can see. The tank does move fairly well, as you can see. Not a whole lot of effort to get that to roll around. If you do have problems with it rolling, make sure you have the cockpit section here all the way tabbed against the body. That way you'll have less of a ground clearance issue there. So there's, yeah, another look at the undercarriage there. So yeah, tank mode. And now let's go ahead and look at some size comparisons. First up, just for kicks, I'll bring in Generation 1 BLITZWING in tank mode here. And you can see there the size difference. And sort of a top-down view, if you will, like that. Next up, I'll bring in Deluxe Generations Warpath. See them there together. So you got a Voyager class versus a Deluxe class tank. And finally, a view from that angle. Last, from my final size comparison, I'll bring in the Revenge of the Fallen Voyager Bludgeon. And you can see Voyager Bludgeon is actually quite a bit bigger in tank mode. So that's where I come in with the observation that the tank mode here with BLITZWING looks a bit short, especially when you compare them here with the Voyager Bludgeon in tank mode. I just think the BLITZWING tank mode is just a little bit short, but I can't complain too much since this is a triple changer and I love the fact that it does have all 3 modes, so I'm not really knocking it too much for that. And finally, this view here. Now, the transformation process itself is not that difficult to understand. However, in practice, it is rather difficult to line up these 2 tabs and the tabs underneath so that they're all lined up and everything pegs in solidly. That's my only real critique of this particular transformation, particularly from robot into tank mode. Not a big deal, but it may be frustrating for some younger Transformers fans. Just something to be aware of. It does line up once you actually get everything in place, but it can take some time to do that. So just be aware of that. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the transformation of BLITZWING from robot mode into jet mode. Now, because the transformation is similar at the beginning to the transformation into tank mode, I've already taken the liberty of actually doing the first few steps of that. So now, as we look back here, I've already got one arm here transformed. This is going to be the back end of the jet mode. And so what you have to do with the arm, once you have it in this position, is actually go ahead and rotate this down. Now, normally you'd actually leave it here for the tank mode, but for the jet mode, you want to rotate the arm around such that you have this side facing upwards. And then what you do is peg that into that slot there, or tab it into that slot. And there you have the back end of the jet mode. Alright, so let's go ahead and move on to the final phase of the transformation from robot into jet mode. You want to take the feet here, collapse them up, and for now just get this fin out of the way. You want to take the hip here, rotate it around such that you have this type of motion, which allows you basically to take the leg and connect it to the main part of the jet. At this point, what you want to do is rotate the treads like that. And there's actually a tab here and a corresponding slot or groove there. Additionally, there's also a tab right here and a slot. And they both have to line up. So bring them together like this. Go ahead and rotate the foot around. Get the little fin here in position like that. And then this is the difficult part because you know what you have to do, but it's always difficult, at least in my experience, to try to get those two to line up, those two tabs into the slots. So let's go ahead and try to do that right now. So there you go. And then you can bring up the little fin here at an angle, bring out the main wing here, and there's a bit of plastic right underneath here that you want to rotate out just so that it kind of fills in that gap, so you have it looking like that. Now, as you can see, this popped up here. I'll go ahead and show you the complete transformation, but basically you do have to fidget around with getting the tabs to line up with the slots. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at what we have so far. As you can see, I've got one leg transformed into the, I guess, the left half of the jet mode here, and this is what it should look like once you have that complete. And as I mentioned before, it is a bit tricky to get the two tabs and slots to line up, but once you do, you should have something like this. With that said, let's go ahead and finish the transformation. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at the jet mode for BLITZWING here. I would say overall this is a very, very nice looking jet mode, especially considering the fact that it's a triple changer going from robot to tank to jet. So with that in mind, I think it's a very, very nice looking jet mode. Again, I like the color combinations here with the purple and the tan in terms of how well balanced they are. Not too much purple, not too much tan. It's amazing that Hasbro can pull that off both in the robot, tank, and here in the jet mode. So overall, again, looks like a jet. There is a bit of a gap back here. However, the way that Hasbro tells you to transform into jet mode, you do have the gun barrel here from the tank that fills in this area. So that's not too bad. Alright, so moving on, there is a bit of articulation here. You got the actual bits back here on ball joints. These little winglets here are actually on ball joints as well. You have some adjustability here with the fins, like that. I kind of like them at that angle. You do have a landing gear here, which is nice, and this is actually can be put back into the recessed area there at the front. If you so desire, what you can do is you can take the barrel here and actually rotate this to actually have the barrel point straight forward. So let me go ahead and show you how that works. And you can have, as you can see, the barrel of the gun pointing forward for this type of effect. So if you're familiar with the G1 toy, you know that you can actually do the same thing on that particular toy, rotating around the gun barrel to point either towards the front or towards the back. So that's kind of cool. And as you can see here, you can actually store both the sword and the gun on the jet mode. What I've done here is I've actually pegged in the sword into the peg hole and then pegged in the gun into the sword. That's just one way you can do it. You also have some peg holes here and here for storage as well. So just for fun, on the right is Generation 1 BLITZWING in jet mode as compared to Generations BLITZWING in jet mode. Okay, so for the next size comparison, on the right I brought in Generations Deluxe Thundercracker, which of course is the Classics Seeker mold, and you have a comparison there of Deluxe versus Voyager class. And here on the right is Transformers Revenge of the Fallen Voyager class Mind Wipe. So final thoughts on Transformers Generations Voyager class BLITZWING. Fantastic, awesome figure. Really pleased that Hasbro has finally released a true Generation 1 inspired triple changing BLITZWING. I love this figure. There are a couple flaws. I mentioned before that the pieces up here by the shoulders, they tend to be loose and flop around when you're articulating the shoulders. And I mentioned the fact that transformation into jet and into tank mode can be a little bit fiddly, but overall, 2 thumbs up, fantastic. Definitely, if you see this in the stores, pick it up. As a child watching the Generation 1 cartoon, BLITZWING was my favorite, and still is my favorite, triple changer Decepticon. I love this character. I love the 3 modes that BLITZWING can turn into. So very, very cool. I recommend you pick up the figure, and just fantastic job. I honestly don't see how a third party could do much better. Lots of nice detail, lots of great color with the deep purple and the tan. Really evokes the Generation 1 character and the Generation 1 toy. Alright, thanks for watching. This has been my review of Transformers Generations Voyager class BLITZWING.